Hi everyone, my name is Beth. I'm a librarian at the Wyanburg Library in Mequon, and it's time for another episode of Slice and Share. So, Independence Day in India is August 15th, so the theme for this month is Indian dishes, and I'm going to be making a recipe called Lobhia or Khumbi, which means black-eyed peas with mushrooms. So I adapted this recipe from the cookbook, The Instantly Indian Cookbook by Madhur Jaffrey, and that will be linked in the description below, so feel free to take a look at it. I'm going to be making this in my Instant Pot Duo Nova, which I have set to saute for the next 10 minutes or so, and I'm just heating up 3 tablespoons of oil. So once these are shimmering and ready to go, I will start adding in my ingredients. Okay. All right, so my oil is looking good, so now I'm going to add 1 medium onion, which I've chopped. And I'm going to stir these around pretty constantly for the next 4 minutes or so until they start to soften and turn a little brown. All right, my onions are just about where they need to be. So next I'm going to add ½ a pound of sliced white mushrooms. And I'm going to mix those in and saute them for about 2 minutes until they turn a little glossy and shiny. Okay. Again, we're at a good spot now. My mushrooms are starting to look a little shiny. So next up, I have 14½ ounces of diced canned tomatoes, juice and all. I also have a bunch of spices. So I have 3 teaspoons of garlic, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of coriander, ½ a teaspoon turmeric, and ½ a teaspoon of mild chili powder. I'm just going to mush those all together. And then I'm going to let them saute for a couple minutes to really bloom the spices and get that good flavor out. If you have to add a few more minutes onto your saute function at this point, that is fine. We really just want to give these a couple minutes to kind of stew before we add in the black-eyed peas and our water. And I want to keep this moving pretty consistently because at this point, with the saute having gone on so long, the bottom of the pan is really hot and I don't want anything to stick, because if it's sticking, when I close the lid and start pressure cooking, it'll start burning and then the Instant Pot will shut itself off to let that cool down, which isn't a big deal, but it will add to the cooking time, so we don't want that. So last but not least, I have 1 3/4 cups of black-eyed peas, which I've rinsed. If you want to soak them overnight, you can, but you really don't have to. Soaking them overnight will give them a creamier, softer texture once we're done here, but I like my beans to hold up a little more firmly, so I just rinse them off. I don't soak them. Also, I'm lazy and I don't soak them, so I'm going to add those in, making sure I get them all. And then I have 3½ cups of water with 1½ teaspoons of salt. I'm just going to add in here, and then I will mix them together. Make sure that they are evenly distributed, and I've got everything up off the bottom if anything was starting to stick, which it wasn't, which is good. All right, very last thing to do is put on my lid and lock it. I am going to pressure cook this on low pressure for the next 7 minutes. And if you've watched any of my other videos working with the Instant Pot, you know it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to come up to temperature. Then it'll cook for 7, and then we'll be ready for the next step. So I will check back in with you in about 20-25 minutes, and we'll see where we're at. And we're back. So I said I was going to leave you alone for about 20 minutes. I actually left you alone for about 30. So once this came up to pressure, it took 7 minutes to cook. And then I gave it 10 minutes to naturally release some of its steam. So I just left it alone for 10 straight minutes. Now we're back, and I'm going to release the remaining steam by pushing down on the quick release valve on the top of the lid here. Now that steam's going to come up out of the spout right in front of me, so I am going to step aside before I do this. And it's going to be pretty loud, so if you're listening with headphones, you should probably turn them down. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, so now I'm going to turn the lid to unlock it. Carefully lift it away from myself because it's still going to be pretty steamy. Set that down without dropping it. And then I'll mix this up a little bit more. So depending on what consistency you prefer, you can turn the saute feature back on, let this thicken up a little bit more. In the cookbook, Mater Joffrey recommends just kind of letting it sit for a little bit because it'll thicken as it cools, especially as it absorbs up those last starches from our black-eyed peas. But this can be served with flatbread, over rice, with just regular French bread or some other kind of crusty bread that you have lying around. And it's hearty enough with the beans and the mushrooms and the tomatoes that it makes a really good main dish. I'm actually going to use it tonight as a side dish. I have some paprika chicken in the fridge that's waiting for this, so that'll be very good. Again, if you want to take a look at the recipe for yourself, please feel free to check it out in the description below. If you have your own Indian dish that you'd like to share with us, you can comment on the Facebook post for this video or on this video right down here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope I will see you right back here in September.